Shalom. I want to start off by giving all praise, honor, and glory unto the Heavenly Father and His Son, Yahweh, Bahasham, Yahweh Shai, Bahasham, Harachak Yahweh being the name of the Heavenly Father, who the world ignorantly call God. Yahweh Shai being the name of the Son, who the world ignorantly call Jesus Christ. And the Harachak meaning the Holy Spirit in the Paleo Hebrew. Like to give double honors unto the elders, apostles, and bishops of the great millstone, the men who rule well and guide me along my journey in the truth. I'd like to give a sincere shalom unto the hopeful elect scattered abroad, spreading this truth in full diligence and sincerity, as well as righteousness. And shalom unto you, Akim Wakwat, diligently seeking out this truth to build yourself up. Unto you I say shalom. I'm the brother Thana from the Great Millstone Branch of Las Vegas, coming at you again in the spirit. This is a lesson on discipline, not just for us, but disciplining our children, those of us that have children. I think I'm gonna call this lesson is discipline is love, not hatred. You know, those of us that have children, or at least some people are put in situations where they have to take care of other people's children. Nonetheless, if we're responsible for these children, us, mainly I'm speaking, for the men, we gotta put our foot down, in our households. We gotta run our households, not let our households run us, like a lot of Jake do today. Their household walks all over them. They get no respect in their house. All they do, they're just there to pay bills for the kids, and you know, pay bills and put food on the table, and lay it down on mama every now and then. That's all these motherfuckers are good for, and they're happy with that. But nah, man, we're the men. We're supposed, we're the head of the household. We're supposed to be running this, uh, running this show, and guiding our households in which way they should go. Guiding them the right way. Uh, Not letting them uh cause their own self destruction, pretty much. But I want to bring up this precept. The starting precept is Proverbs 13:24. It says, "He that spareth his rod hateth his son, but he that loveth him chasteneth him betimes." And that word betimes just pretty much means early. Let me actually bring it up so I could bring up the correct definition. Betimes, yeah, before the usual or expected times, early, uh sometimes or on occasion. So yeah, sometimes on occasion we gotta put the rod to the child, and correct them, put them on the right path, before they wander off too far astray, and before you know it, it's too late. If you don't start the correction when they're young, um it's just going to be a bigger problem once they become a teenager or an adult, and they're already stuck in those in those ways, in those wicked ways. Um, I want to bring up this. It's a quote, and it relates to this specifically, just what I just said. If you don't correct it young, it's going to become a problem in the future. Because pretty much, if you neglect the correction of the child, you're neglecting your responsibility as not only a parent, but as a man of the Lord. We're supposed to be on top of this. Can't just we can't be out here preaching the word, and painting this picture of what we're supposed to be as Israelite men, uh and then go home and not be that image. Of course, we all live in the flesh, and we're all gonna have our, none of us are perfect. We all have our faults, But like I said, this is one thing that we can control. We have the ability to control what goes down in our own households. And you know, if we have the ability, then we should be taking care of that responsibility, not neglecting it. So this is the quote. It's Salak. I can't pronounce the guy's name, but I'm gonna try. It says, Doctor Joy Yodevo Yogendro, something like that. It doesn't even matter, but it's pretty much saying, in life, don't take the easy way out by ignoring your responsibilities, because the responsibilities you ignore today come back as liabilities that you can't escape tomorrow. So yeah, if you see uh your kids starting to develop these bad behaviors of uh how Israelite man's not supposed to be conducting himself, you're supposed to get on his ass. You're not supposed to be so harsh the first time, but you do need to put your foot down and let it be known. Be stern, but um not over the top with it. You wanna create you wanna bring correction out of it, not resentment from your child. So the first time around when you start noticing those habits, those habits that we're not supposed to be displaying, you let it be known, hey, bro, this is what I'm seeing and I don't like it. So you need to do what you gotta do to straighten that out. But I'm letting you know that something needs to be done about this. And that's all that needs to be said. And if you're doing, kids are gonna be kids, but if you got them on the right path, that should be enough, really. Um, hey, this is what I'm seeing. I don't like it. Get tightened up, man. Get it together. I don't want to have to tell you again. Just like the Lord. Hey, the Lord's gonna chastise us. If we're going off course. The most of the time, if we're for men that are in a camp or follow a camp, um, you're gonna get that chastising, that verbal warning from an elder, from the elders of the camp, from the elder brothers. Hey, brother, we've been noticing this. Um, Tighten up, bro. Get it together. I'm not here to tell you how to, but I'm here to tell you when you're going off. But I'm not here to hold your hand. Pretty much what anybody's gonna tell you. Hey, bro, tighten up, get it together. You know what you gotta do. You're a grown man. Get it together, just like that. And that's obviously our kids aren't grown men, but in the same aspect, hey, bro, you're going off, and you need to tighten up, get your act together. Don't make me tell you again. And after that, if you have to tell them, if it comes back around to where you do have to tell them again, which is most likely, dealing with children, it's going to happen. Then that's when you take that, that you approach it in a different manner. You kick it up a notch, um, and maybe you let it slide again. Which is fine or whatever. But once it comes back around, 1, 2, 3 strikes are out. That third time, you usually, you're gonna some in some households it isn't. You don't get that third time. I know in mine you didn't get a third chance. When my dad, you messed up that one time and you're gonna get your ass beat. That's just what it was. I had an ass whooping ready for me every every Friday after I got off of school because I couldn't get my act together. But uh, eventually I did. After so many ass whoopings. Um, but that's good. That they know. Hey, this is what happens when I don't get my act together and fall in line with what Dad says. I'm gonna get that rod. I'm gonna get a swift ass whooping. But that's what that was the cause of my action. Every action, like I said, every action has a reaction. Well, if you're not acting right, guess what that reaction is from Dad? It's gonna be you're gonna get chastened, whatever way that is. Um. So yeah, you want to be on it because discipline is it's not hatred, it's love. The world likes to put it in men's head or into families' heads these days that if you hit your kids that you're a bad parent, that you don't love your kids. You're abusive and they make you out to be a monster because you discipline your kids. But no, it's quite the opposite. That's the ultimate form of love. Uh, you know, correcting your kid. That shows that you care. In the world today, there's a lot of bad parenting. And you could tell from the type of kids that at least I could tell. From a lot of the kids that my kids go to school with. Um, I watch the kids. When I'm with my kid, maybe I'm dropping my son off at the bus stop or whatever, picking them. I used to pick them up from school. You see these different types of kids. The ones that the teachers over there having to tell them, "Hey, get over here! Stop it! Stop it! Stop it!" Like 5 times. If what my mother used to tell me is, you know, when I was in school, hey, you spend more time with that teacher. However, we say, well, we spend like six hours at school, something like that. Almost 8 hours of that day is gone sleeping. 6 hours you're at school. You're probably with your parent. In all reality, when you're a kid, you probably actually get to see your parents. What a good 4 or 5 hours, if that. If out of the day, and during that time, what your parents are usually tired from work, and mom probably has to make food. Dad's getting off of work. Winding down. You probably get a good after eating and everything. You probably get a good 2 hours with your kids. Out of the day. So how my mom used to break it down is if you're only with me 2 hours out of the day and you're with that man or woman, whoever, teacher, you damn sure better be respecting them more than, just as much as you respect me. Because those are the, this is back in the day. Now I don't there's far few in between teachers that really care. But, they're the ones that are molding you, they're raising you pretty much. Uh, So if you're gonna be respecting anybody, it better be them. That's what she used to tell me. So if these parents these teachers are telling these kids, "Hey, stop it, stop it, stop it," more than 5 times, how many times do you think their parents are telling them to stop it at home? And obviously, they're not doing anything. They're letting it get to 5, 6, however many times they allow it to, because you could tell in these kids how they behave. Uh, Bro, I know when I mean, I wasn't an angel or nothing, but I knew better um, than to talk back to my teachers, or I wasn't a wise ass like that, not like kids of today, cussing up a storm and talking to their teachers however they wanted or not. We had some type of, we had that discipline back in the day because we knew. It was allowed back in the day to whip your kid's ass, and you didn't get in trouble for it like you do now. Now you whip your kid's ass at school, and oh man, poor kid. The CPS is probably at the damn school before you could even get in your car and pull out of the parking lot. That's how bad it is, nowadays to discipline your kids. That they look at you like I said, like you're a monster for trying to keep your kid in line. But like I said, it doesn't matter what they think, because that discipline, whether it's good discipline or bad discipline, being neglectful, that all reflects on the parents. Because now that I'm a parent, I know kids are bad, and I try not to think of it like that, like, oh, that's a bad, like the kid has bad parents, or but man, the matter of the fact is you can't deny it. These kids are fucking bad because the parents don't whip their ass. I have family members whose kids act bad, and I know for a fact it's because their dad doesn't whip their ass. If dad was on that more, it reflect. Because I know damn sure I didn't go to anybody's house and even think about talking wise to my dad. He whipped my ass like a grown man, for disrespecting him. But that's good. I used to not. I used to look at that as bad because, I look at it through my mother's eyes. My parents are divorced, so if you could understand where I'm coming from, I looked at it through my mother's eyes of, oh, my dad was abusive to us or to me as a child, and I mean, to a certain extent, maybe, but at the end of the day, I'm glad for it because it put that correction into me and it instilled those values into me that I mean, I don't go beating my kids, but I instill those same values that my parents instilled into me of, hey man, uh, you know, obviously, have your own voice and don't let nobody walk over you or do anything to you. It's not supposed to be done, but at the same time, you better not be going to school disrespecting your parents. I mean, your teachers. Because they're around you more than I am. I want to go into this precept. Like I said, that discipline is love. Just like when we go off, the Lord loves us, so He'll give us that so to speak, that ass whipping or chastening correction that we need, so we don't go off the deep end and cause destruction unto ourselves. This is Hebrews 12:6. For whom the Lord loveth, he chasteneth and scourgeth every son whom he receiveth. Um, so if ye endure chastening, Yahweh dealeth with you as with sons. For what son is he whom the Father chasteneth not? Um, but if ye be without chastisement, whereof all ye part, whereof all are partakers, then are ye bastards and not sons. So yeah, like it says right there, when we go through these tribulations and trials, or these misfortunes, it's probably because we were going off somewhere, in the law, and that's the way the Lord telling us, like a father, obviously, He is the Father, but He's telling us like our worldly Father of, hey, tighten up, man, tighten up your act, get your stuff together, because if I gotta tell you again, you're not gonna like it, and then and usually that, like I said, that warning is gonna come from an elder of the camp if you're following the camp. And that's a blessing because some people don't have those elders that counsel to turn to, and guess what? They don't have anybody telling them, hey, tighten up. This is happening to you because you're going off somewhere. You know where you're going off, but they're gonna be there to give you that verbal warning. Some people don't have that verbal warning, and then they just go deeper into where they're going off and go off the deep end, and then they get that chastising directly from the Lord, and that's something you don't want, because that could go any way. It could go whichever way the Lord decides He wants it to go. It could be a big lesson for you, or um, you could just get taken out altogether, and it could be a lesson for another brother. Who knows? Maybe there's another brother that's going through that kind of knows what you're going through, is going through the same thing. Just doesn't tell nobody, but he'll know when it happens. You know, we pray that that doesn't happen to any brothers, but the reality is it happens. The Lord judges. Uh, he brings to life and He causes death. That's part of His how I don't want to say how He's built, but so to speak, That's just how it is with the Lord. So let me move on from that. Um, you know, if we wanted to be a reflection of the Lord, how He chastised, how He, like I said, the Lord chasteneth us, then we have to chastise our children. That's being a reflection of the Lord. Uh, you want to have correction with purpose. You don't just want to, whip your kid's ass just because he's being annoying. Kids could be annoying sometimes. Everybody that has a kid knows that, or has been around a kid knows kids can get on your nerves. They don't know any better. So yeah, correction with purpose. Hey, you're not. Your mom told you to pick up that yard. You're on. When I left this morning, how come it's not done? You know, I heard you were stealing. I heard you got caught stealing the other day. Your mom told me. What's up with that? You know, what's gonna have to, bro. This is. I already caught you stealing before. Now I'm gonna have to lay it down, bro. I'm gonna have to. You're gonna have to take this punishment. You know, and even though it might sadden us to have to do it, we still gotta do it. No one wants to whip their kid's ass, but hey, if I caught you stealing and I let it slide the first time, which I shouldn't have. You should have got that. Should have put your foot down when it happened. And sometimes parents let that first one slide. But either way, I caught you stealing. Now I gotta whip your ass. Because if I don't, what's gonna happen? You're gonna grow up into being a teenager, into being an adult, thinking you could go around stealing from people. And what's gonna happen out of that is the Lord's gonna end up judging your ass. You ended up stealing from the wrong person, and fuck around and get get dealt with through the Lord. He's gonna judge you in whatever way that you could catch a mean ass whipping, fuck around stealing from somebody, or you could mess around and get taken out. You see it all the time. These freaking crackheads trying to break into people's cars, and what happens? They get caught and get beat half to death. That's what happens. No one likes a thief. Uh, it's one of the commandments. We should not steal. So if we're breaking that commandment to the Lord, and if you're stealing and you're doing like that, more than likely, it ain't your first time. It ain't your first rodeo. So how many times is the Lord gonna allow that to happen before He judges you and gets on your ass? And just like that, how many times is a father supposed to, a worldly father supposed to let something happen before he's got to get on your ass? It's the same thing. Uh, Not only we're supposed to correct with purpose, but correct with consistency. If you're on the kid about, this is stay on the topic of stealing. If you discipline your kid for that one time, and he doesn't listen, yeah, bro, you're gonna have to. It's a freaking headache. Trust me, I got kids of my own. I got a son of my own that's hard headed, and uh, you know, you don't want to always have to keep on telling your kid the same thing over and over and over and over again, because it's a hassle. It's a pain. It's a pain in the ass, but it's it's needed. You can't let it slide. You can't. Man, this is the third time I had to tell you about that freaking getting caught about stealing. This is the third time you got caught. Well, this is the third time that if this is the third time that I got to whip your ass for it, well, then this is the third time I have to whip your ass for it. Lord will, there's not going to be a fourth. You're going to, we're going to pray on it, and you know, uh, you got to show them, you got to bring it up in the scripture, where, hey, bro, this account, this is what happens when you're a thief, bro. This is what the Lord does to thieves. You're getting chastised right now through me, and you should be grateful for that, because there's people in the graveyard right now that didn't have a father to show them the way. They didn't have didn't have no guidance, and they had to learn the hard way. You know, so if that, like I said, with consistency, and you want to correct without cruelty. You don't, like I said before, like you don't want to provoke. Uh, you don't want to provoke your child into anger. You don't want to provoke, or you don't want to provoke them into anger, and how do I say it? Like when you hit your kid, yeah, of course they're gonna be mad, but not mad, but upset, or whatever emotion they're feeling, but they can't be mad at it, because usually when you get your ass whipped, your parents have a good reason, and it's usually your fault. It's usually somewhere along the line, where they told you not to, don't overstep that boundary, and you went around, you overstepped it, and then what happened? You got your ass whipped. You can't be too mad at that, but you can't just be going around whipping your kids because you had a bad day at work, and your kids running around and not listening, or whatever. For little things, you can't just go taking out your anger on your kids. That's that's not right in the Lord's eyes. That's not correction. That's abuse. Um, but like, it's needed. It's training. It's discipline is training. It's not rage. It's not supposed to be rage. But like I said, it's needed because that correction prevents destruction. This is Proverbs 22:15. Foolishness is bound in the heart of a child, but the rod of correction shall drive it far from him. So yeah, that physical discipline. That's what drives away that I guess you want to say that sin that's sitting in the child was well, I don't want to say sin, but I mean it's gonna lead into sin. They're just bad habits. A child doesn't know any better. A child isn't born with wisdom. That's something that must be taught and guided. You got to guide them and correct them and teach them this wisdom. Otherwise, you can't just expect a child to know everything that an adult knows. An adult more than likely had to go through trials and tribulations to obtain that wisdom. You know, um, we had to get corrected ourselves to obtain that. Like it says, I forget exactly where it says right now. It's roughly paraphrasing, but um, I want to say it's in Job where you're chastising, bring me closer to your decrees. Roughly paraphrasing, it's like that what we went through, for disobeying the Lord and Him getting on our ass as a father, that brought us closer to the Word and the right way of walking. So when we discipline our children, that ultimately brings them into that same right way of walking that we had that we you know the right way of walking that we learned through our correction is what I'm trying to say. um so yeah, like I said, they don't know everything, so if folly, that's the word, the little folly that's in their that's in their hearts, that if we don't rebuke that folly out of them early, what's gonna end up, it's gonna grow, and we're gonna have a bunch like now. You see all these fucking little it's in every race. It's not just blacks. There's uh the term is Pookie and Ray Ray. Those like the elders, brothers, and apostles like to use that Pookie and Ray Ray. But there's Mexican Pookie and Ray Rays. There's uh all across the board in all 12 tribes, And even even especially in the heathen nations, you know, that's fucking that's all their children. You know, they're a bunch of fucking they're a bunch of fucking pookies and ray rays, you know, and they're raised to be like that. Cause that's the way these heathen Salaki, that's the way these heathen operate. You know, they don't discipline their children. They let them fucking run all over them and tell them how it's gonna go down, and when you know, let them back talk and scream at them, and you know, fuck you, mom. You know, little fucking Timmy's over there building bombs in the garage, ready to fucking blow his house up because mom said she's not gonna buy him a fucking PS5 game or whatever. You know, that type of shit. Fucking what was that? That just happened. I don't know what town it happened in. I forget off the top of my head. But this Edomite, Edomite kid, some type of heathen nation kid, um, wanted to get one of those virtual reality headsets, and his mother, I believe, you know, said no, like we don't have the money for that right now. I believe she was a single mother as well. I'm not, you know, I'm not too positive on that part, but so she says no. And what happens is the kid ends up fucking. I think he went upstairs and grabbed her gun or you know, some type of weapon and unalived his mother. You know, he unalived his mother, and you know, I guess he ended up going and grabbing her credit card and purchasing that virtual reality headset. And when you know, obviously everything came to light, and him being the only one there, so he was. Taken by the authorities and for questioning because him being the only one there, he admitted to everything, you know, and I think the one like the main thing he was more concerned about out of everything was because you know, like I said, he took his mother's credit card and ordered that VR that virtual reality headset. I think he must, you know, he had to be in there for like a couple of days after the incident, and what he was more concerned about was if his headset had came in if his virtual reality headset that he ordered with his dead mother's credit card had came into the mail yet. You know, that says it all right there. You know, that's most of the kids in America these days. You know, they'll kill their parents over uh whatever, you know, whatever. If you get on their bad side, you know, they'll take you out, you know, they'll fucking kill you. It's crazy, you know. It's absolutely insane the things these children are capable of doing to their parents over the littlest things now. And it all comes back to not having that discipline. You know, parents didn't whip their ass. They didn't put that fear into them. Like the Lord puts that fear into us to straighten up and get, you know, get our shit straight. That's the, you know, that's the fear that gets instilled in your children when you correct them. You know, it's a healthy fear. It's okay to be afraid of your parents and have your kids be, you know, have a healthy fear of you, because that's what's gonna keep them in line. You know, that's something for them to look back on when they're about to uh go back to stealing, when that kid's about to put that fucking Snickers bar in his pocket at the store because one of his friends did it. He's gonna think of that fucking ass whooping he got last time he got caught stealing. You know, hey, dad put that rock to my ass, boy. Like, man, my ass was sore for like 2 days. Man, you know, he's gonna remember that, and when he sees his friend put that Snicker bars in his pocket, he's gonna think twice about it. I'm good, bro. I think I got it like $3. So, you know, I don't even need the bar that bad. You know, fuck it, whatever. I'm gonna go home, bro. Let's go. You know, that's what comes with that discipline, and that's a good thing. You know, uh, I'd rather have my kids be a little afraid of me and know how to conduct themselves when I'm not around than for it to be all love and mess around and shoot me in my sleep because cause I don't want to give them a freaking a PlayStation 5 or whatnot, you know, whatever the case may be. Um, so yeah, like I said, you know, you want to balance. balance that discipline out without provoking the child. It's supposed to be correction, not abuse. Like I said before, I want to bring out. This is it's in Ephesians 6:4. And ye fathers, provoke not your children to wrath, but bring them up in the nurture. So let me start again. And ye fathers, provoke not your children to wrath, but bring them up in the nurture and ad- admonition of the Lord. Admonition. Let me see. I'm gonna see what that word actually is. I'm not too familiar with that word. I'm gonna search it up just so if any brothers are not familiar with it either. It says admonition, an act or action of admonishing, authoritative counsel or warning, to reproof, rebuke. So yeah, it's a chastening. It's that authoritative warn. It's that warning. Hey, get it together. Get your Salakia, get your act together. But it's not supposed to. Like I said, we're not just supposed to do it just because we're having a bad day at work, and I didn't tell you this whole time about you uh, doing something, but whatever the case is, But now that I'm having a bad day, now I'm gonna come home and take it out on you because you didn't throw that trash out. Now I'm gonna get on your ass and I'm gonna fucking embarrass you or start talking shit. No, that's not how it's supposed to be. Like I said, be consistent with it. If that's if that's a thing, your kid not listening, then that's something that needs to be handled. Like I said, not just when you feel like it and you're having a bad day, because then your kid's not gonna respect you, man. Your kid's just gonna be like, oh, this is being a fucking asshole, you know. The other day I was, I did the same thing. He didn't care now. Uh, him and mom are bickering because whatever. Now he wants to come in my room and take it out on me. Every time he's mad at mom, or every time he has a bad day at work, my dad's got to come home and be an asshole. That's what's gonna happen. So like I said, you don't want to provoke your children into anger. You don't want to agitate them, and if you're firm all the time with them, you're standing on business like you're supposed to, and it's something that's known in the household. Hey, you don't fuck around with that. You don't fuck around. Dad don't fuck around. Uh, when you act bad, you could be sure that Dad's gonna get on your ass. You don't want to be um you don't want to be inconsistent with the correction. That's just gonna lead to something that you don't want. Um, so like one moment. So yeah, this discipline, these actions that we're taking to discipline, it's like I say, it's needed because it's only gonna produce peace. It's gonna produce peace later on in life. You're not gonna be dealing with fucking Pookie and Ray Ray as a son. Uh, you're gonna be having Laura willing. You're gonna have a a Lord fearing Israelite man on your hands. That knows how to conduct himself when you're not around. It's one thing to have a good kid when he's in your face, but it's another to have your children. I want to say be exalted. I guess when by other people when from how they act when you're not around. Uh, how are they acting when they're not being watched? When your eyes aren't on them, because that's what counts. It's like it's one thing to act one way when when everybody's around, like when we're with the body, But how are you acting when no one's watching? That's the real test. Of who you are or who that child is. And it reflects, like it says, that discipline is a reflection of the father. How they act when you're not around, that's a reflection on how you raise your children. If they're acting like fucking shitheads and no house training, well, guess what? That's a reflection of you and how you raise them. That correction, it brings stability, it brings wisdom, it brings self control, and it also it builds a respect for authority. Because if you're the authoritative figure, I don't know how to say it, but you say it, the figure of authority um, in the household, and you gain that respect. Well, then how do you think your kid's gonna act when he or she goes out into the world and you're not around? Of course, if you show them to respect authority, then other figures of authority are gonna get that same respect as well. Because that's how you raise your child. If you didn't raise your child like that, if you're just fucking fucked off your time as a father and didn't put your foot down when it needed to be put down, guess what? However your kid was acting when he was a child and a teenager, that's pretty much how 9 times out of 10 that's how your kid's gonna be when he's an adult. Those same antics, you know. People, Jake just don't change. You gotta put that change in. You gotta instill that change into them. I want to bring out, like I said, that discipline brings peace. So I want to bring out. This is Hebrews 12 and 11. Um, it's a lot. I'm looking for the right. All right, so yeah, this is 12 and 11. This is an NLT. No discipline is enjoyable while it is happening. It's painful. But afterward, there will be a peaceful harvest of right living for those who are trained in this way. Um, yeah, okay. So I was gonna go down more, but that was the point right there. Um, so yeah, even like I said, even though we don't want to do it, yeah, no one wants to whoop the kid's ass, but it's necessary. Um, for their growth and development, shit, I lost my place. So like, one moment. Yeah, like I said, it's not enjoyable, and though it's painful now for that moment, yeah, it's emotionally painful for you, more physically painful for the child. But though it's painful for that moment, uh, it's going to relieve you of a whole lot more pain that you'd be experiencing in the future if your child goes on to living that life and comes out to, if the child makes it to be an adult. Excuse me. You could be a wicked ass Jake in this world, and we see it all the time nowadays. It's the death rate is higher than ever, and um, it seems like the ones that are dying are a lot of times they're not even up to 21 years of age. A lot of people that are dying a lot of Jake that are dying these days are in their teens. If they're not barely a teenager, they're man. There's not even it's so sad because there's not even an age cap anymore. Before there used to be a cap on the age of the death of the person dying. Like you could be any age now. Anybody, it's like I said, anybody could get it. That's a saying Jake has. Worldly Jake that are in these YNs in the street. Anybody could get it. EBK, anybody, everybody killer, whatever the fuck, that stupid bullshit is instilled in their fucking pea brains. Um, yeah, anybody could get it. There is no grandpa, grandma, or uh, whoever. It does not matter these days. Bullets, like I say, bullets don't got no name, and there's more than enough bullets to go around, I guess, in these streets. Um, so that's something to remember. That, like I said, that little pain that we inflict on them, for 10 seconds, however long, 15 seconds, whatever. We're not trying to beat the living shit out of the kid, but it's enough for that child to to develop that understanding in their mind. What I did was wrong, and this is the consequences of my actions. I don't want this to happen again, so I'm gonna walk that straight and narrow, uh, you know, and move on with my life. Leave that bullshit in the past. Cause that little 10 seconds, 15 seconds of pain that we're inflicting on them, that's saving us that uh I want to say lifetime of pain, of losing a child. Like I said, there ain't no age cap on death anymore. Uh, death is not prejudice, or it's not set out for one people. Anybody can get it nowadays. Doesn't matter how old you are. So that, like I said, that little 10, 15 seconds of pain that could save us a lifetime of the family. Because once that kid gets put in that situation and gets judged and has to give up the ghost ain't coming back. This isn't a death is not a fucking trial run. Like Spotify. If you don't like it, you can come back to life, as long as it's within a month. Nah. Once you're gone, you're gone. There is no coming back from that. So, and it's obvious, everybody knows that. But if we don't, these kids nowadays, they don't treat it like that. They think this is another game like Grand Theft Auto. You know what I mean? If you die, you get wasted. All you gotta do is click X, and you come back. Nah, you click X until your thumbs hurt. You ain't coming back, bro. It is what it is. You gone. You gave it up to ghost, and everybody must move on. That's how the world operates. Where am I at? Slack. Um, Slack. Y'all got lost for a second. So yeah, what is the danger? I want to bring up the dangers of not disciplining your child, your children, and letting them uh run rampant and act however they want to act. Like a lot of the children of today. The um millennials. I want to say. I can't. Yeah, millennials. It's pretty much the those are the ones that are the up and comers. Um, of this generation. These are the YNs. That are running around fucking causing terror. The
New text message from 227 dash.
um these little fucking baby kids. These fucking killers running around with switches and fully automatics, like it's nothing. Like they fucking like they're soldiers in the army, and they're fucking like 14 years old, running around taking people's lives like it's nothing. And it probably would. they're fucking demons. You know what I mean? Shit, that's the only other way to describe a lot of these kids nowadays. They're fucking demons. And that's the danger of no discipline. You're gonna fucking end up with a demon on your hand. You know, for a child. Um, with no discipline, you end up with a lawless society. Just like a lot of these lower class cities across America. These low income cities. Um, where they're filled up with uh, low income housing, and these welfare houses, and um, it doesn't have to be welfare, just low income areas in general. These are like damn near third world countries. Almost uh, from the lack of discipline in the home. I'm from. Well, I'm not from, but I live in Nevada a lot. I used to live in Las Vegas. I live like in the next town over now. But the point is, when I used to live in Las Vegas, anybody listening to this is familiar with Las Vegas. I used to live on off of Fremont Street, Eastern and uh or Civic Center and no, it's Eastern. It's like Eastern and 21st Street. Pretty much, this little ghetto ass spot. On the east side, and uh, when I think of a state of lawlessness, I think of over there, or you could just imagine, they have the same place anywhere, the best way I could describe it is just a little, uh, at least when I was living there, it's just a little nicer than Skid Row. And you could, I leave it up to your imagination, to whatever you come up with. But yeah, Skid Row is pretty much how I could, full of heroin addicts and meth heads, and just not a place that you should be raising a child in. Um, but we're in the curses, and unfortunately, there's plenty of children being raised in that environment, and their environment. They were a reflection of their environment, because their mothers are most likely, if not mom and dad, are both drug addicts. Uh, Mom's a drug, or dad, one or the other. If dad's probably not even around, uh, who's watching the kid? Nobody. So the kid grows up seeing all this shit, and reflects it, and it's just a reflection of that, like, uh, and grows up to be that, and that's how we have all these fucking Pookie and Ray Rays running around, because of situations like that, and that's how it is now in America. Sad to say, uh that's common. That's a very common lifestyle for Jake in America. In these type of areas, this lawlessness. You grow up. A lot of these kids grow up smoking weed, seeing their cousins doing harder drugs, seeing their parents doing harder drugs, just seeing a whole bunch of wickedness that a child's not supposed to be exposed to. But the point is that they grow up, and obviously their fucking parents are so used to that, they don't show them that, hey, bro, this is wrong. Some do. There's those parents that are living in those areas, and they know right from wrong, and they instill that into their kid, because they don't want to see their kid grow up still living this fucking same life that they provided for their children. They're trying to end that cycle that goes on from generation to generation. This generational curse, pretty much. They don't want to see that keep going, so they instill it into their children. Hey, this is wrong. You're not supposed to be stealing. You're not supposed to be using drugs or selling this poison to your people. You need to do better. You need to be better, so you can provide a better life for yourself. as we should for our children. But like I said, that's not how it is in those type of environments. Sadly, sad to say. You know, they grow up with this. It is what it is. This is the life we live. So we need to make it work for us. They use that as an excuse to stay in that cycle of madness. Say, well, I didn't live I didn't live any. The parents think I didn't live any different from this, and they think they're all right, but they're not. So they think it's cool for their child to live that way, which is it's pretty sad when you think about it. But like I said, unfortunately, that's the world we live in today. Um, so, um, so yeah, once these children have gone into that cycle of rebelliousness, what ends up happening is the parents lose the authority in the home. You know, kids are just full fledged in in the street life. And before you know it, uh, mom and dad's word shit, and ain't nothing you're gonna be able to tell the kid to change his mind about what he's doing is wrong. I want to bring up you know let me see how do I say this. Um, this is going into that neglect and the danger of no discipline. This is Proverbs 29. Proverbs 29 and 15. The rod and reproof give wisdom, but a child left to himself bringeth shame to his mother. Yeah, so it's like I was reading further on in my head. Um, to discipline that child, like it says, the rod and reproof give wisdom. So when we discipline that child, it produces wisdom. It produces that right way of thinking it instills that right way, the correct way of thinking into that child. The correct way of living. Obviously, what I did, they're gonna be, if you're doing it right, and if the Lord's in the house, He's gonna put it on that child's mind that hey, what I did was wrong. I knew it was wrong because my parents told me it was wrong before, and I still did it. That's why I just got my. That's why I just got my butt whooped. With that thought being in their head, Lord will, they're gonna it's gonna stick with them. Like I said, it's gonna instill that wisdom, and they're gonna turn from that, Lord will, turn from that bad habit that got them that correction. Nobody wants to get no butt whoopings from their parents, and that's what's gonna prevent them from doing it that next time. Like I said, when they see their friends stealing that candy bar, they're gonna remember that ass whooping they got a week or two ago, however long it was, and that's what's gonna stop them. That's what's gonna make them. Uh, that's what's gonna make them put that candy bar back, so to speak. Just like when we're messing up and doing stuff that's not pleasing the Lord. The first time maybe who knows, man. I got it bad last time. I ended up getting a ticket or whatever. I lost my wallet, and I had my I just cashed my paycheck. Whatever. Those little things, doesn't matter what it is. It's all coming from the Lord. And if you got that spirit on you, those eyes to see, those spiritual eyes and that spiritual heart and mind, you'll be able to see those. You take those. You'll be able to take those corrections for what they are, not just fuck. I got bad luck or um, the Lord. The Lord the Lord's angry with me because of whatever, yeah, the Lord's angry with you, but you'll be able to pinpoint it more better because only you know where you're messing up at. No one's gonna be able to tell you your secrets. You know exactly where you're messing up at. You could act a fool and act like you don't. Oh, I don't know why I'm getting judged. I guess I just have bad luck. Like, nah, man. Whatever the case may be, man. Some brothers have problems with lust or stuff like that. Hey, I was eyeballing that dude's chick the other day. I had some thoughts. This could be why I'm getting judged. I need to pray and repent on that, and move on from that. You know, um, repent and move on. Like I said, that's looking at it with that spiritual eye. Uh, that's if we those of us that have the ability to do that. Um, so yeah, where was I? So yeah, so pretty much that was that. I want to leave that off with saying, leaving a child without correction. That's not it's not kindness. You're not doing that child any favors. That's neglect. It's being a neglectful parent at the end of the day. So when disciplining, we want to be calm. Don't just be yelling the whole time. Discipline is not it's not punking your kid. You know what I mean? You're not going in there fucking keep your head down. Don't look at me. Nah. This is a sort of an intimate thing. When you think about it, because you're really taking you're how do I explain it? Like, you want to be precise with your correction. It's you want to be thoughtful with it. You don't just want to go in there fucking screaming your head off. This is act of love. It's an act of kindness at the end of the day. So you want to treat it as such. Hey, make the kid comfortable. I guess um with that correction. You don't want to, like I said, you don't want to cause resentment. You know, I know it's hard to look at it that way to the mind of a kid when it's happening, but when you do it the right way, maybe even a week from then, that kid's gonna know. Hey, what, my dad loves me, man, because he didn't just let me slide on my bullshit like fucking Pookie and Ray Ray's dad did. He he cared enough about me to take time out of his day to show me the right way, and not just let me slide in my folly and go deeper, because that's how iniquity builds up. That's stacking sin upon sin. That leads to destruction. Um, so yeah, so you wanna be calm when you're in that the act of disciplining your child. You want to explain why the correction is happening. A son, daughter, whatever the case may be. We're gonna say son. A son. Um, you know, I know this isn't something that I like to do. I don't like putting my hands on you, son. But I need you to know why I put my hands on you. You did this, this, and this after I told you not to do that, son. I told you not to cross that line. You crossed it. Now I gotta put you in line. You know, I asked you to get in line and you didn't want to listen. Now I gotta put you in line. You know, uh, but it's because I love you. I'm not mad at you. I don't hate you, son. As a matter of fact, it's the opposite. I'm doing this out of love for you. So I don't want to see you grow up and be a wicked man and get destroyed. That's what I'm talking about. Explain that correction. Don't just yeah, boy, I whipped your ass. You know why I whipped your ass. So don't act dumb. That's the opposite of what I'm trying to tell you. You don't want to do that. That's that leads to that provoking your child onto anger. He's all for all they know is, damn, my dad don't like me. He just comes home and he's mad and, yeah, I fucked up, but he just don't like me. That's why he whipped my ass. He whipped my ass because he doesn't like me. He doesn't love me. That's the thing you start to think, and it's gonna make them run with that folly even more, 10 times harder. Then you're gonna have a real problem on your hands. And like I said before, when you're showing them the result of their actions and why they got that correction, it'd be good because you want to bring connected to scripture, connected to the word, because ultimately this word is the whole reason. So like this word is the whole reason why we are instilling this into them and giving them this correction, because the word tells us to, and in different accounts shows us what happens if we don't have this correction in our lives. It shows us about the men that came before us, and the results of their lack of correction. For an example, King David, it said, what did it say? It was his son Adonijah. It said he did not. King David didn't discipline him. He by any means he didn't discipline him. And what happened before King David was even dead? Adonijah was already slaughtering up oxen and cattle for sacrifices. Uh, in order for he was already ready to take the throne, and his father wasn't even giving up the ghost yet. That's the type of stuff that is going to happen. A modern situation of that is, you always put your foot down and discipline your son. Next thing you know, your son's over here fucking talking back at the mouth, and in some situations nowadays, the sons are even putting hands on the parents. That's a modern situation of Adonijah. Back then when he tried to he was taking the throne before it was even up for grabs. you know and that's the same way these kids think that they took that. The son's already taken the throne from the dad, and the dad's still the man of the house. The kid thinks he's the man of the house. He's over here putting hands on the father, and putting just bringing shame to his father, for treating him that way. Bringing shame to the parents because they made that. They created that, and molded that into what it is essentially, because they didn't whip his ass. They didn't put the rod to him. And what happened to Adonijah in the in the end of his life? The Lord judged him, and he was put to death through King Solomon. King Solomon's his brother, is his younger brother. He seen through his bullshit, of what Adonijah was trying to do, and ultimately through it was through um through the spirit. Everything's through the spirit, so the Lord put him, Adonijah, to death, and that's what's gonna happen. The modern day version of that is, these kids are getting put to death in the streets. Uh, they're getting slain in the streets for living the life that they're living. Because they didn't receive that correction. So yeah, we want to connect it with scripture, and then after you connect, that discipline they received, and why they received it through scripture. You want to pray on it. You want to pray with your child afterwards. Barakatay Bashim Yahshai Bashim Hakakodash. Lord, I ask you to change little Timmy's ways. Take that demon off of him, because in reality, all that madness in him, and that's instilled into him, those are all demons. So you wanna pray those demons pray them out of them. Do it by any means necessary. That's your kid. That's a part. That's the Lord's child. So you wanna give them a fighting chance. That's another. Not only is that your child, yeah, but that's essentially that's a bro. If that's your son, not only, yeah, that's your flesh, your son of the flesh, but in the spirit, that's a brother. Ultimately. So why wouldn't you want to help another brother out and mold? That's a young brother. Yeah, my son's my son, but at the end of the day, I look, that's a young brother in the truth, and I gotta mold him. Uh, how I would want any of to be that brother that I want standing by my side. And in any situation, whether it's a brother from the camp or just a brother in the truth in general. You want a real brother by your side. So that's what we're trying to build our sons into, to be real men. Be real uh, Lord fearing men of Israel. We're uh, like I said, you want him to be that reflection of you, and you want to be the reflection of Yahweh. So it's all coincides together. You want to build something that you could be proud of, just like we want the Lord to be proud of us. We got to build something we got to build that in our children, that foundation, so they could grow up and shine and bring glory unto us. When they see your son, or like when they see my son, Lord will, that's a reflection, and how he acts, Lord will, in the brotherhood, when we get to that point, that's gonna be a reflection of me. Like, hey, that's a good brother right there. Talking to speaking of my son, that's a good brother. His father raised him right. You can tell he raised him right. And for example, there's a brother in the camp, my brother Banyakanan. You know, from my understanding, he grew up in this truth. His father was, I believe, from the camp. He's passed on. Before I was even in the camp. But like I said, that brother, that's a good brother right there. He's very knowledgeable. He's well rounded, and he's a good brother. You know what I mean? You could tell his father raised him right. Uh, he ain't no Pookie or Ray Ray. You know what I'm saying? Like, you could tell his father put a lot of effort into bringing that brother up, into turning him into the man. Ultimately, it was the Lord. Using his father as a vessel, but on the same, his father raised him right. And it shows in his actions, and the dedication that he puts into serving the Lord. You could just see it, and it's all um how do you say it? It's all credit to his father, and his true father, Yahweh Shem Shai. But what else? Salak. So yeah, so you want to connect it with scripture, pray afterwards, and then you want to show love after that correction. You're not just gonna whip your kid's ass and send him off to his room for the rest of the night, and not explain to him anything until why he got his ass whooped. Um, and just like I said, show him that love. Hey son, I love. Don't forget that I love you. This isn't because I'm mad at you or because I like putting hands on you. It's because I don't want to see you grow up and get your hands put on you by somebody else because you're living this life. If not by someone in the streets, you know, uh, by the cops, and the cops already don't give a fuck about us to begin with, so it ain't nothing for them to put. That's those are uh those are notches in their belt, when they gotta put hands on the Jake, that makes them feel good in their spirit. So someone's gonna, if you don't uh straighten out your kids, someone will, you know. So it's just that somebody will, somebody out there in the world uh, that was made by the Lord, like I say, it creates spirits of vengeance, uh, and yeah, we don't want one of those spirits of vengeance to come after one of our children because of our lack of discipline. That'd be on you. Ultimately, it's fucked up to say, oh, that kid died, but it's because of you. But at the end of the day, it's because of you. It's a fucked up thing to hear, but at the end of the day, ultimately it was because of that bad parenting that you displayed under that child, and that lack of discipline is what more than likely um got their life stuck in. If that's the situation. Where am I? It's like, oh shit. So like, yeah, one moment. So yeah, that so like, that was pretty much the lesson right there. I'm not trying to drag it on any longer. It's kind of long already. But yeah, that was the point. That discipline is needed. Discipline is not hate. Hatred is love. Um, with that being said, I want to give all praise, honor, and glory unto the Father, Yahweh, Bahasham, Yahweh Shai, Bahasham, Hakwadash. Double honors to the elder apostles and bishops of the great millstone, men who rule well and teach well. And a sincere shalom into the hopeful elect scattered abroad, pushing this truth with full sincerity and righteousness. And to the brothers and sisters listening, diligently seeking out this truth, and to you I say shalom wa barakatah.